Good evening, all. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Celeste Prescott. I'm the lead information officer with Southwest Team 1. We assumed command of the Davis Fire last night at 6 p.m. and we will remain in command as long as we are here. But we are also in unified command with Truckee Meadows and the Forest Service. So we are all working very closely together. But the point of us coming in is so that we can manage the fire and get those folks back to their day-to-day jobs. So with that, I want to give you some updated statistics. We are now at 5,646 acres, and I'm so excited to be able to report we now have 31% containment, and we are yes, we're all really, really happy that we're getting some containment. And we have 620 personnel on the fire with more en route every day. In fact, another one just walked in the door as I was standing here. So a couple quick things about how I'd like to run this meeting. We do have quite a few presenters, and we have a lot of information we want to get to you folks. So if we can please hold all questions until the end, because often your questions are answered throughout the presentations. But I will open it up to questions and answers after all of our presenters. I'd like to keep those questions that are pertinent to the group while we're here, and then afterwards, when we close off the meeting and all those folks that are watching remotely are no longer engaged, we will go and talk to each of you that have your individual questions. We've got maps set up that we can speak to, and our folks will stay around so that you can get your individual questions answered as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up with Chief Moore, Truckee Meadows Fire Department.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Charles Moore, Fire Chief for Truckee Meadows Fire. I want to introduce some of our dignitaries here. State Senator Lisa Krasner is in the back row there. Commissioner Mike Clark, if you live in this area, right there. Alexis Hill, Commissioner. I want to talk a little bit about tomorrow's fire weather. I know all of you are anxious to get back home, and we want to get you back home. Tomorrow is going to be a different situation. When you leave here, you probably won't see much smoke. That's going to change tomorrow. You've heard the term red flag warning, and that's bad because it suggests that the weather can potentially push a fire to a point where we can't control it. And we've been in red flag status since this fire has started on Saturday. Tomorrow is a weather event called a PDS. It's a particularly dangerous situation, and it's only been called once in the last 5 years that I can remember. It pertains to any kind of particularly dangerous or severe weather. Our fire fuels, the fuels that burn, and the wind are why the Weather Service has called for a PDS. We're going to have, unfortunately, winds that are going to be around 30 to 40 miles an hour gusting. And when you leave here tonight, you may look up on the hill and you may see not a lot of smoke. And that's because of the good work of the IMT. But in a 40-mile-an-hour wind, it's very, very difficult to hold a fire line. And our expectation is that fire is going to move tomorrow. And in fact, it's going to get worse. What complicates that is in 40 miles an hour, we can't fly any aircraft. So this fire has been modeled, and we expect it to possibly move anywhere from 3 miles to 7 miles at a worst case. And it's going to be in terrain that's going to be difficult for us to access. Here's what my fire department is going to do, and I know Chief Cochran will be here from Reno Fire Department will be here momentarily. I have mobilized my entire department. So all 2/3 of the firefighters that are off duty are coming back into work tomorrow, and we will fully staff every piece of apparatus that we have. We have called for 3 strike teams, 2 from the southern Nevada area, from Clark County and Las Vegas. They will come and pre-position here to assist us, as well as a strike team from the Tahoe region. What we're expecting is that we may be, and what we're preparing for, is to be fully engaged in structure protection and also keeping you safe. So while we're doing that, while Truckee Meadows is doing that, along with Reno Fire and our partners at Sparks, We still have to answer all kinds of calls that come in for chest pain or for car accidents, whatnot. That's why we've called the strike teams to help answer those calls that are not related to the Davis fire. So we're going to be as fully staffed as we possibly can, and if this fire does move, we will be on it. I have a feeling that you're all sick and tired of hearing the word evacuation. I see a lot of heads going up and down. Tomorrow is unfortunately going to be one of those days where we're going to have to repeat that message. Tomorrow is going to be very serious in terms of fire weather, and I can't emphasize that enough. The incident commander of the incident management team will be here and talk a little bit about what we expect in the way of fire weather, but particularly if you live up against the slope like Arrow Creek and Thomas Creek areas, we need you to pay particular attention. Some of you are here most likely from Montreux and from Galena and from St. James. Will address that as well. We have lost approximately 14 structures, mostly residential structures. This fire took off very, very quickly, and by the time firefighters even opened up the bay door, they could see the column of smoke. So with that, I just want to emphasize that I need everyone to pay particular attention to the messaging tomorrow, and particularly where you live. If you're in the affected evacuation zones, please take that seriously. It also goes for people with large animals, because it takes a long time, I know, to load up a horse in a horse trailer and move that animal out. This fire could get as far as Huffaker. It could move a minimum, again, to repeat, somewhere around 3 miles. We just don't know what the wind's going to do, the fire weather, but the model is fairly sophisticated in terms of predicting where it's going to go. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Celeste, and we'll start discussing the details about the current conditions of the fire, when you can expect to go back home, and what we can expect in the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. And I'm going to now bring up our Operations Section Chief, John Cervantes, to go around the map and tell you exactly what's going on out there.
Good evening, everybody. John Cervantes, Operations Section Chief with Team 1. So we'll start over here in Division Papa and Zulu. They're pretty much in the same state. Right now, we've got a lot of good containment around this edge here. The black represents some containment that we put in there, the 31% that we were talking about. Right now, the repopulation of Old Washoe has occurred, and we're looking at other areas, and I'm sure that's going to be addressed later on by the other presenters there. Division Alpha, you know, the resources that were on the fire and that we continue to work with as cooperators and assisting each other, they really established a good anchor down here in the bottom. So we were able to pick up that anchor and start working that up toward the ski area up on top there. Currently, right now, we've got a hand line all the way up into about this location here, then coming off the top main road right there, we did establish some hose lays down in that. It's a really steep pitch. It's taken us a while to get to that location. That's where a lot of the smoke that you saw this afternoon came up right there. Resources did figure out how to take that off safely into that to tie those two pieces together. So this alpha area right here does have some hand line and some hose lays that are in it right now. One of the main things of concern was this area right here. Although we did have quite a bit of wind on it, it was a bit sheltered today. When we started the shift today, we were forecasting some really high winds. And so we were able to get in there with additional air support to help us out in that area. We were able to still install that hand line in there and that hose lay in there. So as we work around the horn here, coming up all the way up until the Slide Mountain Road and the ski area, working over toward the to the residents here, and mainly the Hidden Lake area right there. We do have a series of dozer lines and hand lines that have secured that edge right there, and we're using the main road system as the main holding feature in there. We do have a number of strike teams and engines that are fanned out across that just to hold that and keep that in check. And we did have a slop over spot fire up above on the ridge top, quite a ways up, but we had some retardant line that really helped us contain that. And we did have our entire complement of aircraft available to us, flying the entire shift today and just working that ridge line right there just to support the firefighters on the ground. It was pretty impressive. We've had a number of supporting resources from outside the state, neighboring states, neighboring geographic areas, loaning their resources to us to help us in there. Continuing down into this Browns Creek area right there, there was a structure that was saved in that area. We were able to secure it and fire around that. It was a really successful campaign that happened down in Browns Creek. Working on up into where you see the DP-80 right here and Tannenbaugh area. Right now, that's where the main concentration of the effort is. It did slop over in one area that we did spend a lot of time. We had to invest a lot of air power, a lot of man crew and crew power in that area just to keep it on that ridge top just adjacent to the Tannenbaugh community right there. We were able to successfully contain that. Right now, resources are, there is a little pockets of unburnt fuel between the containment line and the main body of the fire that they're actually burning out right now, just to make sure that we have some solid black up to a holdable feature that we can hang on to. So that should be complete today and through the night shift. I failed to mention that this is day operations that I'm talking about. Night shift is going to continue that operations all the way into the next operational period. Working around through Division Lima country here. A lot of this good work that was put in here previous to us getting here and us continuing to strengthen some of these containment lines in here and also do some mop up on some of the interior stuff. There's still some snagging that needs to occur there. There's several large trees that were that could be potentially hazardous, so we need to bring those down before we even discuss any of that repopulation back in there. And then working our way back around to Division Papa on this northern part of the fire. It looked really good there. Not a lot of heat was found in there. It is a light fuel area, so it burns a little bit quicker and extinguishes a little bit quicker. So that area is looking really good. Just to talk a little bit about the contingency and our plans that we have for contingency, we did locate a series of ridge lines. If this doesn't hold, that we need to be looking forward, thinking about and considering some of those possible drainages. There's not a whole lot of roads northerly after this. We've got one main road system here and another road system that we can use that's defensible, that we can start working on. But like we all know, it's been a long fire season, and we do not have a robust complement of firefighter resources. And I do appreciate Chief bringing up the tremendous effort to bring the cooperators in to help us out with those surge resources to help build capacity with that. With that said, tonight's operations is going to be a continuation of the day operations, just continuing to work in the Division Alpha area. We do have 3 hand crews that are spiked out in Division Alpha, so they're staying there overnight, so that way they can get up bright and early in the morning, continue to work with on that piece of property, that piece of ground right there. All day long, like I said, the aviation component was a big help today. Because we had favorable winds. Yesterday we didn't have so much favorable winds. Folks that are familiar with this area know that there is quite a bit of lee side winds, eddy effective winds that really make it tough for the aircraft to support us the way we need to in there. But today it was actually a really good day, a lot of good air in there, so we were actually able to install a lot of retardant along some of the ridge lines here, along the actual main flanks of the fires, as well as several water scoopers working all in tandem, as well as a number of Type 1 helicopters and the Guard helicopters that were there. So A lot of good things lined up for us today to get us to this state today, looking like we should have, a pretty good handle, at least for now. We are very cognizant of the win that's to come, and doing our best to be prepared for that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. And I noticed we have quite a few people kind of backed up at the door. If you would like, you can come behind me, and there are some more seats over here just so that everybody can see and get all that they can out of this meeting. All right, and now I'm going to bring up our fire behavior analyst, Stuart Turner, and he's going to explain what to expect out there over the next couple days in a little more detail.
Thanks, Celeste. So I'm glad the chief got up here and broke that bad news about tomorrow's weather to you and what the fire behavior could potentially be. I'm here to explain that. My name is Stuart Turner. I'm the fire behavior analyst for the team. What I do as a fire behavior analyst is I predict what the fire is going to do, where it's going to go, how big it's going to get, how long it's going to take to get there. You heard the chief talk about the runs. That's me. That's what I do. I model the fire using computer simulation. So I'm here to describe that. And as a fire behavior analyst, I'm looking at three things on the fire. I'm looking at the topography, the hills, the mountains, the canyons. I'm looking at the fuels. That's the blades of grass, the twigs, the pine needles out there. And I'm looking at the weather. And we have meteorologists on staff. We're working with the local Reno office of the Weather Service to feed us the weather for this fire. Not for the area, but just for the fire itself. So I've got their forecast in hand. It's not my forecast, it is their forecast, but I'm going to give it to you so you have an idea what tomorrow's going to bring. And there's been some changes from what the chief was told, so some of the wind's going to increase even worse than what was predicted for what he was giving us. So tomorrow we got a big red flag day. We have that particularly dangerous situation coming into play. The temperature is going to be in the 70s, about the low 70s, high 70s, somewhere in that area. The humidity is going to get down to 15 to 20%. Probably won't see the single digits, but that's always on the table to get down below that. The big thing tomorrow is going to be that wind. You heard the chief talk about those strong winds, the strong gusty winds. We're going to stay with the sustained winds, west, southwest, 25 to 40 miles an hour. That's going to continue up on the ridges and down the valleys. Now, on the ridges, the gusts are going to be up to 70 miles an hour. And in the valley bottoms, the gusts are going to get to 65 miles an hour. Now, what we consider a 60-mile-an-hour wind is an infrastructure damaging wind. That means power lines come down, tree limbs come down, trees blow over, roofs come off of houses, shingles, that type of thing get blown off. So up on the ridges, we're going to get it to 70 miles an hour. So that's going to be very important for the fire tomorrow because that's going to start to push things around. And it's also going to ground most of all of our aircraft. So we may see some early morning stuff flying around, but as these winds start to come in, we're going to see those aircraft have to set down, and they're not going to come into play into the firefighting efforts tomorrow. And that's going to be important because they can put out a lot of fire. They can put out millions of gallons of water in a day and keep this fire in check like you saw today. If we didn't have those aircraft, that fire behavior today would have been very, very different. So these big winds aren't going to come in till after 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So it's not going to be all day with the big winds, but there will be wind through most all of tomorrow starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so that's the weather. Now that will start laying down about 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Laying down, gusting up to 35 miles an hour. So still windy, but a lot less. What does that mean for fire behavior? So what that's going to do, well, let's back up. Let's talk about forest fires and how they move. Forest fires move through the landscape on the fine dead fuels. That's the pine needles, the blades of grass, the little twigs on the shrubs and trees. That doesn't necessarily move through the big trees and burn up the stumps and the boles of those trees. It moves through the fine dead fuels, whether it's 100 acres or 10,000 acres, it's moving through that fine dead fuel. Tomorrow, that fine dead fuel is going to be at 3% fuel moisture, which is very dry. The tube before you get at Home Depot comes in about 12%. So those pine needles, blades of grass are going to be very, very dry. With a little bit of wind behind them and the fire that's on the landscape, that means we're going to get rapid rates of spread, long flame lengths, and more importantly, spotting. And that spotting tomorrow is going to be anywhere from a half a mile to a mile out. So that's going to push the fire even further, faster, because of that wind. Okay? Let's go ahead and put up the model on the screen for us. So look at this real close. The red around here is the fire perimeter, the highway. When I ran my model, I did an ignition right at the top of the fire. Just a little bit, not much. It burned a little bit for today, and then tomorrow when the wind hit it, it goes the entire 7 miles. So that's, what's today? Tuesday, so that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's growth. Okay, so that's impressive growth. Now let's just say I'm half wrong. You know, telling the future is not easy. That's a hard job. I rely on the meteorologists. They're good, but they can be wrong, right? That wind may not come in. It may not be that hard. But let's say we're half wrong. That's still a 3-mile run. That's a substantial run north. And then what this fire typically does, makes the run north, the winds shift in the afternoon out of the west, and it starts pushing it to the east. And that's where all the homes and houses are. And so we're probably going to see something like that. Now, how far? Is it going to do the whole 7 miles? I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. That would be great if I'm wrong. But it has that potential. My models are very good. The other thing to remember about models is they're all wrong, but they're very useful for planning. And that's what we use this for. We assume they're right, but they are usually wrong. Could be more, hopefully it's less. And this model runs with the assumption we don't do any suppression. And unfortunately, if that wind starts blowing like that tomorrow, we probably won't be able to do any suppression. Because at 1, it won't be safe for the firefighters, and 2, we can't get the aircraft off the ground. So it's going to be free ranging. So when the chief tells you, pay attention to tomorrow, tomorrow's fire weather and fire behavior is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Things will be moving fast. It's going to take time to evacuate places. If you hear that, you got to pay attention to that. This is a very, very dangerous situation. The fire behavior is going to be some of the worst we see this year, and you're right there in it. So pay attention to those announcements, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Now I'll hang around for questions.
Thank you so much, Stuart. He really does an amazing job at his job. We're very lucky to have him. All right, so next up, I'm going to bring up the sheriff to talk about some evacuation, some current things going on. So Sheriff Balaam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to say on behalf of all the first responders, fire, police, we sympathize for those that lost their homes, and we sympathize with everybody that's been evacuated. Over the last 3 days, law enforcement's made contact with over 2,600 residents asking to evacuate. And as you heard today and you see this model, tomorrow it may get the worst we've seen it in a long time. So a few things I would ask of you. First of all, if you've been evacuated, let me reassure you, all local, state. Yesterday we put a request through the governor's office. The National Guard is here today. They are with us now. So we have assets out there roving your neighborhoods, trying to block as many roads as we can so they cannot get in. So we are protecting those that have evacuated, so when you go back, when your homes are there, you can go and nothing's been looted. So I want to reassure you that. I know that's been out there. A lot of people were worried. What I don't need is people going out into our community on their own and trying to protect their neighborhood. We have people driving around. They're going to stop, especially at nighttime. We had that last night in a neighborhood. So I know you're worried about your homes. Trust me, we understand that, and all of us are doing everything we can. We're ramping up all of our resources, all of our agencies. We're going to mandatory 12s. So we will have everything out there to make sure as fire protects your homes, we protect them from those that may have other intentions. Second, be patient. If you come up to the roadblocks right now, it's at Thomas Creek, and we have everything blocked off there. On the backside, coming to St. James, we have it blocked off there, and we also have it blocked off at Ponye Lane. We may, as you've seen from the map, as it runs north, we'll start blocking more off as it moves north. When you come to those roadblocks, understand they're trying their best. I know you're frustrated. I know you're scared. I know that you have anxiety. So please have patience with them if they try to tell you to turn around. They have instructions to turn everybody around. Yesterday, we had a lot of people, because a lot of people had to get out of their homes quickly, that needed medication, and we were able to do that. Today, we canceled it because based upon the weather predictions and the wind behavior, we did not want to get people up there to get their medications, and then all of a sudden the wind shift and it came down, and we wanted to make sure those air assets were out there dropping all the retardant and water. So again, tomorrow I can tell you we're not going to do those medication runs for now because we want to see what this fire does. What we want to do is keep everybody out so that fire can do what they need to do to keep your neighborhood safe, keep our forest safe. So please, I understand you may need something. If it's life-threatening, please come up and tell us. If there's something we can do, we will. But otherwise, please respect and stay out of the area for us. That's the best you can do. And again, I reassure you, we will have resources patrolling, roving, keeping people out so that your property is safe as fire keeps the fire away from your property as well. And then I'll stay around for that. Just as a kind of quick note, just to show you how much they've dumped. Just our helicopter dumped 135 drops. That's the most we've ever dropped. And that's just one of multiple aircraft. So we can't do that if the wind's up, and we can't do it if we know neighborhoods are in there and neighbors are in there, because then they're worried about that. So please have patience with us. Please understand we all have your best interests at heart. We're keeping you safe. We're keeping your neighborhood safe. And they are fighting and doing everything they can to keep the fire away from the neighborhoods. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. We also are recommending, because of what's being predicted tomorrow, that all schools are shut down tomorrow. Again, if this runs north and if the predictions are wrong or if they are right, we don't want to have to rush to those schools. Our children are our precious kids and our future, so we don't want them at schools where then we have to go rush and worry about getting hundreds of kids out and parents panicking. So that is our recommendation from law enforcement based upon what fire's told us is close the schools tomorrow. So again, that may cause some other issues with parents, but please understand it's for the safety of your kids and this community. Thank you.
I'm going to put this back in the cradle because I think most of us are going to be at the podium now. Thank you so much, Sheriff. We really appreciate that, and I really hope everybody really heeds the warnings that we're giving you. It's not lightly that we say any of this. All right, so with that, we're going to bring up Nevada Energy. They have some updates on that. I'm sure a few people got their power back today, and we're very happy about it. So Jesse Murray, who's the VP of Energy, is going to report out on that.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to say that NV Energy is a part of this community. Our employees are impacted. Many of our employees are impacted by this fire. And on behalf of our entire organization, our hearts and our thoughts go out to those that may be in harm's way over the next couple of days and those that have been in harm's way over the last couple of days. We're proud to be able to stand here next to our partners, our first responders, fire agencies, police, and helping to respond to this fire. We have been integrated into the incident command since the very early hours of the event starting on Saturday afternoon. We have our own incident management team that we stand up, and they operate around the clock to ensure that we are coordinating all of our efforts with respect to energizing both electricity and gas to coordinate with the fire response. We do understand that these outages can be inconvenient, but I want to emphasize that we do them because we are concerned about the safety of our first responders and our communities that are impacted in these areas. And by shutting off the power, we ensure that those facilities aren't a danger to those first responders or that those facilities potentially cause secondary fires, making the situation worse, to the comments that Chief Moore led off with earlier today. So that's why we do the proactive de-energizations. We understand it's inconvenient. We understand that in some cases it may be far away. Your house may be far away from where that fire is. But nonetheless, the line that may feed into your neighborhood actually could be right next to that fire, and that's why we de-energize it. And we consistently and continuously monitor those lines to ensure that they need to be off when they are off, or that we can turn them on when we need to turn them on. So we really thank you all for your understanding as we work through an event like this. Turning to the outages that we've seen over the last couple of days. At the peak on Sunday, we had over 17,000 customers that were out of power, stretching from the South Reno area all the way down into the very southern part of Washoe Valley. Over the last several days, we've been able to restore most of those customers. And I want to emphasize that it wasn't just our emergency de-energization policy that caused those outages, but actually the fire did burn into several of our power lines, 19 of those power lines to be exact. And we've had crews out responding and repairing those power lines to try and get service restored to as many customers as possible. This afternoon, we were able to restore 800 additional customers. These customers were located on the west side of Washoe Valley. The operations section chief took us through the new lines of containment that have been formed. That allowed us to re-energize those areas. That included the communities of Old Washoe City, Franktown, and the communities around the Toyabe golf course. So we were happy to get those re-energized. That leaves about 2,400 customers that are still out of power. Those customers are all located along the Mount Rose Highway now, west of Thomas Creek, right? So if you look at the fire map here, to my right, to your left, you can see that, right around where that fire line has formed a crescent around those communities, that's really the remaining area of customers that are out. And due to the fire predictions that we're seeing, we do expect them to remain out at least over the next 24 hours, as this remains a very active situation. Given the sobering comments that we heard from the chief at the beginning of this and the fire behavior specialist, NV Energy is concerned that because of this fire movement, we could see additional de-energizations tomorrow to ensure that we continue to protect our first responders in our community. So this evening, we sent about 4,200 customers email communications through the various channels that we have. Those customers are primarily located in the communities that Chief Moore mentioned, the Arrow Creek area, and those areas of far southwest Reno. And we echo the comments of the chief and sheriff and the sheriff and others to heed those warnings of the evacuations if they come. We will be de-energizing those areas also for the safety of our first responders again. Of the 19 poles that have been damaged, most of those poles were located in the old Washoe City area. Some areas we have not been able to actually get in to inspect yet. That's primarily in the areas where the fire is most active along the Mount Rose Highway. So we do anticipate that we will have more damage that we will have to fix. But rest assured, this is NV Energy's #1 operational priority in the state right now. Similar to all the agencies that are here, we have called resources from all throughout the state, not only our incident management team, but also Lions personnel and other field personnel that can quickly respond when we are allowed access to the area to help get the power restored as soon as we can. And that is a priority of ours, but I want to emphasize one more time that that is not our top priority. Our top priority is safety. And so as part of being closely integrated with the Fire Incident Command, we will continue to work with them day and night to make sure that we are supporting them as needed and supporting their crews that are working this fire out in the field. And I'll just close with, again, commenting that we share the concern of many in this area when the power comes out for a long time. We understand that there's a severe and major impact, but please understand that we're doing it for the right reasons, and those reasons are for public safety. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Celeste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Really appreciate all that you guys are doing out there to assist us as well. All right, I'm going to now turn it over to the U.S. Forest Service Humboldt-Tiobe Agency Administrator, Matt Zumstein. Excuse me, Matt Zoomstein.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a little nervous up here. I'll try and speak to a few points. You know, I think like the rest of our cooperators, I would just like to express thanks to the community out here. I can't imagine what you're going through personally, but we do have staff and people who are evacuated and affected by this fire, so I could certainly empathize. The grace you guys have shown as a community, it's incredible. The amount of thank you cards, cookies, treats that people are bringing to our firefighters out on the ground, it really does help to build and maintain morale, especially when the winds keep coming up and handing it to us. So from the bottom of our hearts, on behalf of the agency, we thank you for that, and we thank you for that grace. I'd like to speak to the values that we're out there, that we're prioritizing to protect. You know, number one, it's life, you know, the life of our firefighters and affected public. Everything we're doing comes second to that. After that, private property and the infrastructure that supports these communities, everything that we're doing out there on the forest to contain this fire is in support of that. Resource concerns and values come second. They're important. We all like clean air and clean water, but it's coming second to the protection of your guys' communities. Our objective and what we've handed the task to the team to help us with is to stop this fire in its tracks at the smallest possible footprint that's out there. What we need is a little cooperation from Mother Nature. And hopefully, you know, after this event that we're going to experience tomorrow, we get some of that. That's not to say that these previous days that the work that's been put out on the ground isn't short of impressive and amazing. Our folks in collaboration have been working tirelessly through the last 3 days, 24-hour shifts, to get the line on the ground that's allowed for the containment that you see on the map, and that hopefully is setting us up to hold it through this next shift. The collaboration between our local agencies and the support that we're getting from the state and from the National Guard, it's been incredible, and it's a source of pride for me here as a local line officer over the Carson Ranger District. In support of operations, I do want to inform you guys that we're going to be implementing a closure order. That's going to extend north, starting at Hunter Creek, all the way along the ridge lines on the forest boundary to the west, south to Franktown Road, and then along 395. We can't have public wandering around in the middle of a firefight impeding operations. We have very small windows to make gains in containment, and we have to be able to take advantage of those windows, and having public out there on the forest, on our trail systems, and utilizing our recreation infrastructure is an impediment to that. So unfortunately, we're going to close it. We'll try and get it open as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe to have people re-enter. Again, most of us work and live in this area because we love the outdoors and we love the benefits that it provides. We love our ski area, and we are fully committed to protecting those values. And that just brings me to the last point that I'd like to hit on, is that commitment. We're committed to this through the firefight, but it goes well beyond that. The burned area emergency response that comes after the fire, when we start getting rains and snow and melt off, we're here for that. And we're here to do those assessments, and we're here to help protect your homes from flooding, from any of those hazards that happen post-fire. And then after that, we're 110% committed to the restoration work, to the replanting, to the reseeding, to whatever's needed to get these critical watersheds back to full function and what we love. So hang in there. We have empathy. We're doing everything we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. And as he said, the Nevada National Guard has been of huge assistance throughout this fire. And with that, I want to bring up Major Barry to speak a little bit on their behalf. Major General Barry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Thank you for the demotion. I don't know, the governor's trying to tell me something. So how's everybody doing tonight? First of all, just again, and it's been said, and I just want to express this. We so understand what you're going through, and this is not easy. And for somebody who's been through so many critical incidents, we just get through it, and this is when we come together as a community and support each other. So I just want to say on behalf of the Nevada National Guard, if there's anything that we can do to better support our community, we're here for you, because we are neighbors helping neighbors, and that means a lot to us. And you know of a lot of the people that wear the uniform, so we are here to help you. Know that, please. And I'll just also say that where they at? Colonel Cifolio up there and General Waters up there, and I think I saw Mr. Compton from DEM. That's a big part of our team, and they do such great work. They're the boots on the ground that are making it happen. And when they put together the plan based off what they ask, because we're here to support. We're not in the front line. We're here to support, and we're going to do everything that we can to support the sheriff. We're going to do everything we can to support the firefighters. We're going to do everything we can to support the Forestry Department, the Nevada Division of Forestry. That's what we're here for. And just know that you have some professionals that are out there that wear this uniform, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure they're on the front lines. They've seen a lot, they've done a lot, and I will put our Nevada National Guard against anybody in terms of showing up and supporting to make sure we're here to the very end. The single biggest thing that you will hear that's important, and I know that there's some structures that have been lost, but safety. How do we take care of our people? How do we take care of each other? As I look into your faces, let me tell you, it's not easy sitting over there with all the uncertainty and all the unknowns, but safety has to be the number one priority. And as you listen to these professionals talk, just know, and from being out there and watching them, these people are tired, they're working hard, but they're so dedicated, they're so committed to making sure they do everything possible to take care of the citizens of this great state of Nevada. The few things that the Guard is involved in is we have our Black Hawks up there and our Chinooks, and these people are war tested. And I was talking to one of the pilots today. He did 11 drops and was looking forward to just refueling and going back up. That's just the level of commitment. They said, we are out there protecting homes. We're out there taking care of our citizens. And so that just made me feel so good. We have one Chinook out there, and let me tell you, these are, again, out there back and forth, back and forth. They said, we don't need rest because we got to take care of the people who come back home. Some of our hand crews are out there. We had a chance to be trained by the Forestry Department, and they're out there working. If there's anything you can see from people who wear this uniform, we work hard. We work hard. So just as you go through and as you struggle right now, know that they will work hard. And then, and thank you, Governor, based off of the request from the Sheriff's Department, we are supporting and we're helping with assisting local law enforcement with road closures. And as the Sheriff said, and I have to be careful I say this, we'll make sure your property's safe. I'll just say it like that. Okay, we're gonna make sure your property's safe. And I'm not going to turn my head, but we're going to make sure your property's safe. I'll stop there, okay? So we're going to make sure your property's safe. So just rest assured that. And just know that if we get requests for more of our personnel, I can just absolutely guarantee you, I can say this unequivocally, that I know the governor will support those efforts. And so when we talk about always ready, always there, just know your Nevada National Guard will do whatever it can on this homeland to make sure that we take care of you. And just rest assured, we got your backs and we'll be there for you. And we'll all get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Major General. You know, I was just trying to take some pressure and responsibility off you. I figured you were busy. All right, so now we're going to bring up our incident commander, Carl Schwope, for some comments before our final presenter. You can grab it out of the cradle if you want. You got it.
Hey, so a couple numbers here. Rotor wing aircraft dropped 208,000 gallons. Each drop is probably around 1,000 gallons, maybe less, so well over 200 drops from the rotor wing. And you heard about the helicopters that are dropping. The scoopers, 196,000 gallons, that's 140 drops. And then out of the fixed wing airplanes, we had 98,000 gallons of retardant dropped on the plane. And that's a tremendous amount of effort. All right, so I'm Carl Schwope, Incident Commander here with Team 1, and why are we here? You know, sometimes fires start And it's just a combination of things, where they start, when they start, the fuels, the weather. And sometimes they're just hard to catch. And this is one of those fires. And it hasn't gotten any easier since it started. And so at that time, each of these agencies, they all have day jobs that they serve you. And so we come in to support them so they can also focus on serving you. And so in this case, we work for Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. We work for the Humboldt-Toyobe National Forest, and we also work for Carson City District Bureau of Land Management. We work in coordination with Nevada Division of Forestry, and there's also a number of other agencies that are extremely involved, some of which came up and spoke here today, and some of which were too scared to come up and talk today. And of course, as being part of the incident management team, this is what we do. We go to places that have fires like this, and we work with folks like y'all have here. And I'm gonna say here, the coordination, cooperation, just the capabilities that these agencies have, that's a tremendous asset y'all have in your community. Talk a little bit about what we're focused on. You know there's fire on the Hill, but one of our priorities is getting folks back into homes, trying to get that life back to normal. But there's several things that have to happen. We have to secure fire line. We have to make sure the communities are safe for reentry. Folks got to get power back on. There's a lot of steps there, and we stay focused on that. It's easy sometimes to focus on where the fire's going and where the fire is at right now, where the smoke column's at, but it's just as important to make sure we focus on all of those things and getting fire contained so folks can get back home. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. Some are external. You know how much fire is going all across the country. The Northwest has a lot of fire. The Great Basin has a lot of fire. That's a lot of resources committed across the country, and we have to compete for all of those resources, the aircraft, personnel, just things like camp support, trying to feed firefighters and make sure firefighters have the supplies and stuff they need. Those are some external challenges that we have. But there's just challenges on the landscape, where the fire's burning at. That's tough ground to work in. The fuels are tough. You're at extreme dryness along the Sierra Front. One of the measurements that Stewart models with is the energy release component. That's how dry the fuels are. Record low conditions, so record dryness. And then you add into that this weather that's coming. And that's what adds to this very dangerous, catastrophic situation. And it happens. And you may say that, well, I live 3 blocks in. I don't live right on the edge of the wildland. But when this fire stands up and runs, that smoke column's gonna lay over. Daylight's gonna be dark. You're not gonna be able to see. Embers are gonna be landing everywhere, dropping a half a mile in catching the grass on the sidewalks on fire, lots, alleyways, natural areas. There's gonna be spot fires everywhere. It's gonna be pure chaos. So don't be a part of that. The warnings will come out ahead of time. Listen to those. Now, what I will leave you with is, when you came out to this meeting and you looked up there on the hill and you think about how much smoke you saw on the hill tonight compared to what you saw Saturday or what you saw Sunday or what you saw yesterday, you didn't see very much smoke up there tonight. And that's because there's 620 firefighters working day and night to make sure all of these predictions don't happen tomorrow. And if it does come true, when winds start blowing 40 miles an hour and greater, it's hard to hold fire line. Even things they've been working on and mopping up and securing, and we're getting airdrops and we have firefighters on the ground, any little ember, hidden piece of tree bark, you name it, the wind will pick that up, blow it across the lines. And then without the ability to fly aircraft, because there's wind limitations on all that aircraft, there's very little that we can do. but we're going to stay engaged. We'll stay aggressive. We have plans. If the fire does make a 3-mile run, a 1-mile run, a 7-mile run, we're ready for that. We'll re-engage immediately, and we'll be aggressive and pick that up. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Carl. And now finally, our last presenter of the evening is your State of Nevada Governor, Governor Lombardo.
Well, good evening, everybody. Last thing you need to do is hear from me. And the reason I say that is because I don't have the answers. And the reason why we have this town hall tonight is for you to get the answers. The rise and fall of any crisis is lack of communication. And that's why we're here tonight. And the other thing I want to say is, on behalf of the state of Nevada, in order to get your arms wrapped around a critical event, no matter what it may be, you have to bring resources to bear. And I took it my point as the governor of the state of Nevada to open the checkbook that you pay for to provide you every resource that we can muster to bear to the crisis, as you heard General Barry say. And my condolences to the folks that have lost property and are evacuated and may be evacuated here in the short future after you listen to the experts describe the situation that is going to occur in the next 24 hours. But the most important piece is your safety. And we can't repeat that enough to ensure that everybody understands property can be replaced, but your safety cannot. So that as you leave here tonight and as you get through the Q&A and you have your questions answered, or you have the right person identified that you want to rely on into the future to answer your questions, or you want to complain about, we're here for you. We're not here to shy away and avoid the tough questions. But more importantly, I think it's important for you to understand I'm going to do everything within my ability and authority to continue to bring those resources to bear to the problem. So you heard him say, what was it, 600? How many firefighters are going to be on the line tonight? 620, and as early as yesterday, that was 800. And why is it now down to 620? Because some of the CAL FIRE folks that came in from California to help had to go back to California to address a crisis in their state. And so what is my job? My job is to identify additional resources, because what's going to happen now? Those 620 firefighters are going to reach their limit where they can't work anymore, and they have to be replaced. So I'm going to do my job as the governor, and along with General Barry, and along with the Division of Forestry with Casey there, and our emergency management with Brett Compton, who is sitting right up there. He's easy to identify, he's bald. Oh wait, everybody up there is bald. And you got General Waters, and here's how much the dedication is. General Barry, your TAG, your Adjutant General for the state of Nevada for the National Guard, he retires next month. And when I called him, told him to get up off his butt, he's not retired yet. You still got a little bit of time left. Where is he? Where is he? He's got 30 plus years in the military. He deserves his retirement, but he knows the crisis that we are dealing with. I have my Colonel, Pat Conway, standing against the wall over there trying to hide. He's in charge of the state police, so if you have questions of him, please reach out and talk to him. We're not here to shy away, we're here to help. So stay safe, avoid the areas you shouldn't be in, and listen to your local authorities. And the state will be here as an overarching arm to help with those resources. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
you, Governor. Thank you so much for joining us, Governor. We really appreciate it. So before we go to questions, which we're not going to have a whole lot of time for, I do want to express my sincere gratitude to the DePaul Middle School for providing this amazing area for us to work out of. They've been nothing but absolutely helpful. We have so many cooperators that it takes to make this all happen for you folks. So we really do want to make sure that we acknowledge them all, and we appreciate it. With that, I'm going to ask Chief Moore to come up and help point out a couple places that were mentioned online. Not everybody knew where they were. And so if we can put the map back up on the TV screen here, I'm going to have him help point out a few of those locations. And we will start with Huffaker.
Huffaker Lane. So Huffaker is starts about where Longley and South Virginia is, and so on the west side it turns into Huffaker. Huffaker runs all the way to the foothill. So that is going to be off the map a little bit. It's going to be generally, yeah. Well, there's no street names on here, folks. So general area is going to be about here. So that's as far as we think it could go tomorrow. Hopefully it does not.
You might be able to help with some of this too. There you have some concerns about some specific areas, the DeMonte Ranch, Galena Forest, and Incline Village. Do we have any concerns that you feel on those locations?
Yeah, we do have concerns in Galena, particularly on Doug Fir, which is kind of on the western side there. That area could be impacted. We're going to do our best to keep it out of Galena. St. James Village, and let me know if you disagree with me, but it's looking better than it did, of course, a couple of days ago. And DeMonte Ranch, I don't have concerns for DeMonte Ranch, but it's largely what we're looking at is it moving through the vegetation on the eastern-facing slope here.
And Montreux.
Callahan Ranch is looking good. Montreux, there could be some burn down to Montreux. It possibly could. That's what the model is predicting.
So, folks, if we could wait until we can get a mic to you so that all the thousands of people watching online can hear. So if we can wait for those, I'm going to just address these couple areas, and then we have somebody that's going to come around with a mic, and we will definitely get to those, okay?
All right. What else? Is that it?
Okay, so Arrow Creek?
Arrow Creek, where you have concerns for Arrow Creek. And predominantly it's going to potentially burn down to, let me think of some streets there, but all the way down to where the hill interfaces with Zalesi, possibly, yes. Yep, so how many folks in Arrow Creek? I see that. All right, you need to be ready tomorrow. So if we call for evacuations in Arrow Creek, we mean it. So it's time to boogie out of there. Can we put the fire prediction map back up? Let me try to address that.
If you can just raise your hand, and we'll get the mic so everyone can hear.
I'm sorry, the question was what again? Montreux. So Montreux community is right here, and it potentially does hit an edge of it. Saddlehorn, it potentially burns to the edge of it, yes. I don't think so. The question was, is it going to burn down to South Washoe? And I don't believe it's going to go that far, no.
I had two questions. The first one, the Sky Tavern ski area and the little community around there. Do you know how that's doing?
Chief Eisenhagen, are you around? I'm going to bring up, this is Chief August Eisenhagen, who ran the incident for the first couple of days. And he has a little bit more intimate knowledge about what actually is affected.
Good evening, August Eisenhagen. I work for Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. I am the Division Chief over Wildland Fire and Fuels. I was the incident commander on this from about an hour in until last night at 1800 when we brought in the bigger machine. So that's who I am. What was the question? I apologize.
The small community right around Sky Tavern ski area.
Okay. I haven't been out there today with the new team, but my understanding, and it's in alignment with where it was yesterday and the fire behavior today, is that it's not in there yet, but it is absolutely still a potential for it to go in there.
We have a little bit more on that from John from today.
So operations from the current team.
Yeah, speaking directly to the Sky Tavern and around the communities up there around the ski area, we did put in several check lines, dozer lines up in that area to keep it out of there. Right now, it is not up against that community, but it's knocking on the door. So that's where a lot of that retardant was applied up in that area, and a lot of the our aerial resources worked on up there today.
Thank you. And then I had one follow-up question. Is there volunteer opportunities or anything that the public can help you guys with or do anything other than staying out of your way and staying away?
The question regarding volunteering with this short notice is essentially the second part, staying out of the way. I know that's hard to swallow. Truckee Meadows does have a volunteer fire program. I'm in charge of that as well, but that takes time to get trained up and onboarded. It's not sign the paper and go to work today, sadly.
We have a question up here.
First, I want to say thank you and God bless you to you and all of your crews that are fighting this for us. I really appreciate that. My second question is about where you were today. I was watching the fire planes on watch duty today, and you were pounding just above Scotch Pine, right at Douglas Fir. Are you saying now that you think the fire is west of the highway at Douglas Fir, or do you still have potential for it going back into the Douglas Fir Joy Lake area?
I could start that, and then you want to take it? So I'll let the current team speak to the current situation and what was done specifically in there. There was a piece that came over to the northern aspect where that power line comes out of Galena Creek Park, and that was the focus with a lot of the efforts today. Our concern with this model and our normal shift of the winds coming out of the west is it could come down and re-impact the same area, but from a different direction. But regarding the details of today, I'll pass it off.
Yep, going up back to the Galena Forest area right here. We did have a huge concentration, like you pointed out, with that particular with that site there, and that's where we did concentrate a lot of the effort today. Resources that were in there, we had a handful of hand crews prepping, installing hose lays. Right now, it is still at the main road, the 231 road, or sorry, the 431 road, and it's still being held. And we're still continuing to hold the line that was installed there up in this area right here. Right now, it's just on that knob right up above the Tannabon area right there, and that's the basic. The fresh installation of those lines, we're going to do our best to hang on to it. You heard the wind predictions. With resources coming on early. And that's one thing that's another special thing about the aerial resources that we have coming on. It's not common that we get to have a nighttime flying aircraft, but there's one out there flying right now. So that's a pretty special thing. And then in addition, we're bringing on the aerial resources even earlier to try and get ahead of tomorrow's wind to help even strengthen and improve that area up there.
Thank you. I have one more quick follow-up question. I'd like to request that you guys on social media like X or Facebook do more frequent updates, because I'm only seeing them every 6, maybe 8 hours. But if you guys could just update those sites a little more frequently, that would be so much for us, because we're out there guessing right now.
I totally understand that, and I ask that you be patient with us. So as fires are happening, the first normal 24, 48 hours, the focus is the firefight, and there's normally not many resources in place to handle the public media side of stuff. There's a fair bit involved in getting the operations, the correct operations updates, and getting them out. So now I have, we've gone from, there was one PIO or two pretty much trying to do all this the first couple days to we got here, got in place yesterday. I've got pushing 20 PIOs now. So you're going to see a lot more information going out. You're going to see folks out at key locations that you can speak to every day. You'll see a definite uptick, but unfortunately that's pretty normal. In the first 24, 48 hours, the focus really has to be the firefight, and trying to get an update even from the field can be really challenging because they're out there focused on what they've got in front of them and life and property safety. So I understand the frustration, but we will get an uptick in it. We do have another question up here.
I'd like to thank you for those comments, by the way, but I guess I have been involved in amateur radio emergency services for years, and the biggest problem I see is social media and using X. There's a lot of disinformation going on right now, and I'm wondering if there's any possibility of trying to get some site or some Washoe County actual site beyond perimeter, for example, to be able to get better information as to what's going to happen specifically for tomorrow. As a follow-up question, what I'd like to find out is, based on the models, I see orange, blue, and green. If you can give us any insights as to what probability that is, as well as how far north that model reflects. I'd appreciate that. I think it would be helpful for the community.
So as far as the social media goes, the main source now, as of today, is going to be the U.S. Forest Service Humboldt-Tiobe social media sites, and then everything will be shared from there. So anything that goes out there has been vetted, accurate, updated information. If it's evacuation changes, then that's going to come from the county. We're going to share it there. But everything, that's going to be your one-stop shop if you want to find the latest and greatest. But it will all be shared to Truckee Meadows as well, and to any other pertinent sites. So thank you for searching out the accurate information and understanding that unfortunately there are a lot of rumors out there. I'm going to hand it on to Stuart for the probability question.
Okay, so this is not a probability model. This is the actual predicted perimeters. So those different colors represent the different days. So the orange is tomorrow. The blue is what, geez, I did it just a few minutes ago, Thursday, and then Friday, it's green. Okay, so if we look at probabilities, you're asking how confident am I in this run? I have not been able to tease out the model. I didn't have enough time to get that calibrated the way I like it. So I'm looking at probably 70, 80% probability. My confidence on this. So there is some wiggle room in there for being wrong. Now, the other thing to remember is I am a slave to the weather, to the meteorologist. And when they miss the winds, I miss my model. So that's why I'm saying if I'm half wrong, we're only going to do 3 miles tomorrow. We're going to get some growth tomorrow. Things are going to happen very, very quickly. I am sure of that. And that's why you need to pay attention to the updates and heed those warnings, because things happen fast. Okay? What highway? So here's 580, here's the major road. What are you looking for? Right there? Okay, can you see that yellow line then? Okay. And then earlier we had a question about growth to the south, and you're not seeing any on the model. Remember, this run, I only lit this little piece of right here, this little piece. I didn't light this line that's open. That's not contained. And I didn't light anything along the south that's not contained. Now, when I did light that in a different model, it did move to the south and it moved to the east, but not as great because that wind's pushing it back into the fire. It's kind of holding it in check. But what that wind is doing, it's fanning the flames. It's pushing oxygen into that fire and accelerating the growth back into the fire, into the wind. So there could be other movements other than the north movement. You're just seeing the north movement.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I'm a resident of St. James Village. My wife, Christy, and I were on the first line of defense Saturday. First at Davis Creek when we saw the fire burning one tree, and then 2.5 hours later in St. James Village on the first road and entry point for the single largest community entry point. My question is twofold. One to the mayor or to the governor. Somebody can answer this because I'd like to understand what it takes and who makes the decision to go to level 1 in a significant fire situation like this to mitigate the extent of damage that we have 56 hours after the fire started. Number 1. Yep. 2, to the sheriff. It was one of your leadership members that came into our village who hadn't a clue as to what was going on. Who was there, who wasn't there, when the evacuation notice was given, why we had people posted at 3 entry points. We made a call to your department because looters were coming in. And I'm saying this now because Arrow Creek and Montreux and Galena are going to be faced with this. We've already been through this process. And we had one of your leadership members come in at 2 a.m. in our village with an agenda that was more about him and why he was there than it was about the community and saving and making our community safe. So there's an opportunity for some improvement there in terms of how the community shows up and works together. Because there's no question about what you're doing every day in your job and what we expect as taxpayers to have support for our community. No question. When the National Guard showed up today, what are we, day 4? You came in halfway through today. Love it. You guys were awesome. It allowed a lot of us as community members to go to sleep. But it's 4 days later, so I want to know from the governor who pushes the button to say, we've got level 1 resources here that are going to come in, and it's not just about our community. You've got to look at Incline Village and the Tahoe Basin, which you're all thinking about. But someone's making the call to go to level 1. The discussion in this community right now is there's 4 or 5 fire chiefs who had the opinion that it should have gone to level 1 much quicker than 60 hours later. Okay, number 1. Number 2, I'd like to understand what the protocol is, because when we made the call to the sheriff's department, we were told we wouldn't get resources because we were in an evacuated zone. So there may be some misinformation, but I'll tell you what, our community went in to action when we were told we wouldn't see a sheriff in our community because we were in an evacuation zone. So we may be misunderstanding something, but we shouldn't be penalized for putting our community into action to put people at posts and in positions to protect our community from looters. And I'm telling you, you guys are looking at the same situation. Everybody here has concerns about people coming into the community that shouldn't be there. So help us understand what the protocol is. When we call and ask for resources, we told we can't have them. And then you've got somebody coming in to tell us we can't do what we need to do to protect our homes. So I'm a little bit emotional about this because we've been through 4 days, 12 hours of sleep, trying to protect our communities. We've been through it. And these fires are going into Montreux, they're going to go into Galena, they're going to go into Arrow Creek. And everybody here has the same concerns. How do we work with you? What are the protocols? And we're happy to do what we need to do to help and assist. And we appreciate everything you're doing all along the way, from law enforcement. National Guard is phenomenal. The firefighters that we talked to at 2 a.m. in Galena, were fantastic. Help us understand.
Okay, I'll take a few elements of that. First off, the emotions and the raw feeling of it, I fully understand, and we are here to, like the governor said, engage in that. We don't want to shy away from it, and I understand. My family is evacuated as well. I am a local resident. None of these decisions are made lightly. That said, who makes the initial calls? That is typically the first in battalion chief, regardless of jurisdiction, right? Whether it's Reno, Sparks, Truckee Meadows. Our initial string is what we call it, what's coming for a wildland fire during the summer. It's 5 engines and 2 battalion chiefs. That first in battalion chief then decides how bad is it and what additional stuff do we need to ask for. Due to our relationships and agreements in the region, our battalion chiefs have 8 or 9 different ordering mechanisms that they can tap into. And I can't speak to the first hour because I was in the process of evacuating my own family during the first hour. But within that hour, all of those mechanisms were at play. I would venture to guess we had 30 to 40 resources coming within the first hour. So from the fire department standpoint, all of those red levers were pulled almost instantaneously. Now, the level 1 term at the state level and governor's level and National Guard, I can't speak to all those details. I can speak to, I'm the one that requested the National Guard yesterday, and the trigger for that was because as we were discovering out and about, the law enforcement side and the DOT side could not keep up with the public. We had public running around everywhere. They were finding holes and ways to get in. They were making their own. They were cutting fences and taking UTVs and accessing areas that we did not want them. When we had that discussion yesterday, law enforcement and DOT, they were tapped out. They didn't have enough resources to staff all of those extra positions. And so that's when we made the request for 100 National Guard security folks to come in and join. Looting is absolutely a concern. When I went into my neighborhood last night, the road closures had gone down. Power was out, pitch black. Most of us leave the front door open during a fire because that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm instantly worried about my house and my neighbors. So I hear you loud and clear. Those are some of the answers. I don't know. Are you able to answer some of the others? What were the other specific questions?
It's just
Okay, yeah, let's move on. And we can
the
talk
question
about
was asked.
afterwards.
The question
Okay.
was asked, and it's just simply about protocol, how we work with the sheriff's department.
Okay, so we will discuss this with you after the meeting because there are considerably more. We've been here almost an hour and a half, or over an hour and a half, so we do need to move it on. I understand your concern, but we will get with you afterwards.
Just a really quick question. I evacuated immediately. I unfortunately left my cats thinking I was going to get back there. Is there any way that I stuff them in a garbage bag? I don't care, but just get them down off the mountain.
So again, we will definitely get with you after this. Folks,
Okay.
if we can keep these as pertinent to the entire group, and we will be here to talk to you all one-on-one afterward, okay?
Hi, my name is Erin. Thank you for all the information. It's very helpful. Thank you for all the work. We're grateful. One of our leaders over here, I don't remember his name, was talking about how hard you're all working to create these defensible lines, everything you're going to do to maintain those, the extreme wind tomorrow. And then I thought the comment was trying to defend individual structures. I don't know if that's too detailed a question. I'd like to know how you're going to defend or how you're going to defend the individual structures if that's a relevant question.
I can attempt to answer that, but as is always the case, it depends. So this is a unique scenario where we have a robust incident management team on the fire itself. And then all of the local cooperators, that's where I was before this, are coming up with a game plan for how we're going to respond if this happens. Because the incident management team and what they have, it won't be enough to get up here in enough time. Typically what that looks like is as it's approaching a community, we've tried to figure out best access and where it's going to impact first, and then we start moving overhead, battalion chief-like positions in our system, and resources into where we think it's going to impact. It depends on how many homes we think that are going to be affected and how many resources we have. It could be an engine in front of a house, or it could be an engine that's in charge of 5 houses, and they're rotating throughout the houses trying to trying to assess where it's going to hit first. Does that answer your question?
Commissioner Clark asked a question, and he wanted me to address this. So tomorrow, if we see what is predicted here, the question is, should you go to work tomorrow? Because if you're at work and then we hit the evacuation button, we don't want you to come home and potentially get stuck in traffic and not be able to get to what you need to do to get family members out or pets. So that is your call, but I think it's not a bad idea for you to go to work late, and let's see what happens with the weather.
Pete, right behind you.
Looking at the evacuation, first place, God bless you all. Second, on the evacuation map, there are areas now that are in yellow that previously were in red. Our area right now where we live is still in red. If we were to see it turn to yellow, 4 points, can we go back to our houses? How will we be informed that we can go back to our houses? Is there a procedure, I'm considering maybe the sheriff, that we would go through checkpoints, and can we go back to the houses and get things even if the power has not been restored, and then leave again?
I'll look to the current IC if you can help me with this on your current standards and procedures. I'll speak to the evacuation piece really quick because that's where I was, building new polygons or layers or chunks of ground for this. So yes, these two have changed to yellow. We feel that most of the threat is gone in that area. It's not completely gone, hence why it's still yellow. So that's open. The notes in there emphasize, and the communication emphasizes, the intent there is for the homeowners, not looky-loos or for people to be hanging out. In addition to that, if you pull up the map now, because we just did it, we have added 2 yellow pieces moving further north to capture this potential for tomorrow. So they're pre-built, locked and loaded, ready to go. We've set up what we call trigger points or management action points for if this crosses Galena Creek, that's when we're going to start increasing our evacuation notices further up. Those will get pushed out through perimeter, but they can hit social media. The cell tower will yell, your cell phone will yell at you, all those kind of things. So be heads up for that. We've added some layers in there. In terms of the process for the current evacuation area, I have my thoughts on how I would do it, but I want to defer to the IC in terms of repopulation.
So the way it's here in Nevada, if it's red, that's an evacuation, that's a go. You need to leave. If it's yellow, that's a warning. That means evacuation is still imminent, still could occur, so you still could go red. So even if you go from nothing to a yellow, that means you need to pack your bags, have your medicine, all of your essentials, start planning for your pets. If you have large pets that take more than minutes to move, start doing that in yellow. Start making all those preparations so when it gets to red, you leave. Now going back the other way from red to yellow, sure, you'll be allowed back in your home. The roadblocks won't be there, so you'll be able to go into those yellow areas. But it doesn't mean life is normal. Your bags are still packed. You still make those arrangements for pets. You still are ready in case it switches back the other way, in case we get a event like tomorrow. And remember, it's not just, when it comes to evacuations, it's not just that the flame front's gonna hit your house. That smoke and all of that chaos goes further in, and that's why those evacuation areas are more than just that front row of homes. I hope that helps. If you want me to clarify any more, just come up afterwards.
If it goes from yellow to red, then from red to yellow, we can get to our house, we may just go in, pick up stuff and leave.
Yes, absolutely. The roadblocks won't be there, so you'll have access back, power will be back on, and so all of that stuff. And it's just to check on things, make sure whatever you forgot the first time, clean that up and be ready.
All right, so you'll get notified by paying attention to those social media sites. Like I said, we will be putting out releases immediately. I don't believe they use the reverse 911 for those kinds of changes, so just paying attention to that is the best thing, I would say, to the county and to the Forest Service Facebook and X accounts.
Yeah, two quick questions. So my first question is on Sunday, they said the fire was 6,500 acres, and I noticed since then the number's been smaller. So I'm wondering if the current number is that how much total acreage has burned or current burning? And my second question is, there's been a lot of talk in the Monty Ranch neighborhood online if we'll be affected by this fire. It sounds like tomorrow, that's not likely at all. But when would we know that would be likelihood that Damonte Ranch neighborhood could be evacuated? You know, what would we be looking for signs in the news, and how long would we potentially have warning to be evacuated if that could be the case?
Okay, so first of all, whenever we release a number of acres burned, that is the total for the entire fire area. And there is adjustments as we get better mapping. We get mapped once or twice a day, depending on availability. As busy it is around the nation, sometimes that's even hard. But sometimes you'll see the number jump up because we're guessing, but we're under a lot of smoke and whatnot. And we're making kind of an estimate to give you something. But then when we get a map, we come out with the actual acreage that we were able to get from the IR flights. As far as how much notice, we try to give you as much notice as possible. We work closely with the sheriff. We're talking to him every morning, afternoon. It's anytime we need to. They are right there involved with us, and we will give you as much notice as we possibly can, but we also don't want to pull the trigger too early. So there's a fine line, and we'll work on the best we can finding that.
So when that notification comes out, it could come out any time tomorrow. As long as those firefighters are successful and can hold that line, the notification won't come out. But as soon as they lose that line and we get spots across, then we're going to go through that. And that could happen at any time. So I can't say it's going to be at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock. It could happen at any time. Maybe we even make it all the way to 1600. So it could come out any time tomorrow.
In concern with the first responders on the front line, you guys mentioned not being able to have air crews maybe tomorrow. How does that affect all the hand crews up there for getting supplies, food, and water?
So for those specific needs, we're not using any aircraft for logistical support. We can drive everything up. They can take everything with them. How it'll impact them for what we'll say operational support is, you know, aircraft and firefighters on the ground work hand in hand. We need aircraft to cool the fire down. We need firefighters to go in there and put it out. You can't be successful with one without the other, or it makes it easier when they work in tandem. So when those flames start picking up and that fire starts moving as fast as it's going to move tomorrow without aircraft, there's very little firefighters can do. So that's why we'll have to disengage and re-engage in a different area.
All right, folks, I am going to have to limit us to one or two more questions. And then, okay, just 1 second, please. We will be here to answer all of the questions immediately after, but we just have a lot of folks that need to get going. All these people here that are supporting us are really tired. They've been working long and hard. They need to get some rest so that they can be ready for what we're up against tomorrow.
Hi, just a real quick statement for law enforcement. I know that the roads are closed at Thomas Creek. You guys have done a fantastic job keeping that shut down. There is a massive hole there, though, and it's crazy, going up through Thomas Creek, up through Saddlehorn, up to the top of the Saddle Spur, to the government lots, and every looky-loo and his uncle is up there, and that's how we're all in the government lots. That's how we're going to get back down and out, is through Saddlehorn. And all I'm going to ask is if you could just add one more hold to try to keep the traffic out of there, because as we're trying to leave, they're going to be coming right back up at us. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's been noted. All right, and I know that there's a lot of people with a lot of questions. We'll get down here to this gentleman, and then I swear we will stay around to answer all of them after.
First thing I would say to the group is thank you so much, all you first responders. You've been fantastic. Thank you very, very much. God bless every one of you. Two items. I think as a citizen, and by the way, an old citizen, the thing I've learned from going through wildfires in the past is get out of the way. Get out of the way and trust the people that are trying to help you. That's one thing I would love to say. Also, if you have any inkling of going out of your home and self-evacuating, for goodness sakes, do it. Because in the 80s, We were involved in a wildfire, and what happened, please, would you please? In the 80s, we were involved in a wildfire that came into our area, and the delay was there. The delay was there. Don't evacuate yet. No, not yet, not yet. And then when they told everyone to go, guess what? They all got in their cars at the same time. And guess what? It was a traffic jam. We were sitting on our city streets, stopped, unable to get out of the neighborhood because guess what? Everyone waited to the last minute. So I'm saying, you know, remember that part. One last thing. If you people with pets, remember this, please remember this. When you call your dog comes, you put him in the car and you drive away. When you call your cat says, hey, I smelled smoke 30 minutes ago.
Thank you for that. Yes, agree. Get out early, get your pets early, plan ahead. Mother Nature is making it very challenging. I thank you all so very much for joining us. Please stay around and ask all the questions that you need after.